When I first started going to the gym, I definitely felt like, hey, I shouldn't be here. So I'm trying to navigate my way around, find out where equipment is, how much weight I can lift. If I'm looking at a machine, I'm not sure exactly how to use it. So at that point, I feel like maybe I shouldn't be here. But in reality, I have just as much entitlement to be there as the next person. Everyone should have the ability to work out, stay healthy, keep themselves strong. So I think it was just the aspect of I hadn't been here before, and I'm not sure how to navigate things. And I don't want people looking at me saying like, she doesn't know what she's doing. And I also like to be able to do things on my own. I'm very independent. So I'm also worried someone's going to come over and be like, hey, that's not what you're doing. Although that would be extremely helpful, and I probably need them to do that. So I think a lot of it comes from some of our peers. So comments we might hear while we're at work, or comments we've heard in the past from family members. So females get this more of, you're not going to be able to do this. Like, you can't lift weights. And there's also the stigma of females lifting weights and strengthening, whereas people are saying, hey, if you do this, you're going to end up looking too manly or too balky. So then they kind of freak out and step back. In reality, if you're only strengthening like 2 to 3 times a week, you're never going to look like a balky man. So I don't think that's something they have to worry about. Another thing is quite a few men find the ACFT very easy. So I've heard comments even today, if you can't pass this, you're weak, or it's a piece of cake. So women kind of take that and then they wonder, is there something wrong with me because I didn't pass it? So I think that's definitely another mental block. In addition to that, some mothers who have families, they feel guilty if they're spending too much time outside of the house after work, working out. So you kind of have to find that balance of spending time with your kids, working out, or see if you can find a way to combine that. So the other thing I was thinking of then is sensory overload. So this is something I sometimes deal with. If I go to the fitness center when it's extremely busy, it's loud, I feel like I'm in people's way at times. So then I'm kind of like, I don't feel like working out, so I want to just go home. So I think that's a big area too. I've talked to other females that deal with that, especially when you're not extremely confident in the exercise that you're doing. You're like, hey, I'm taking too much time on this. Someone else needs this equipment. So one way to kind of work to fix that is you can always check what the busiest times are at the gym and try to go at a slower time. And then once you're more comfortable with those activities, you're not going to worry about everyone around you. Also with the noise, definitely have headphones. You can listen to music or a podcast that helps you to stay relaxed. I started training for it back in March. And at that point I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. It looks a lot easier than it is. Got on the bar and I was like, nothing happened. From watching videos and seeing people doing it, it looked fairly easy. So I was like, why can I not do this? So it's kind of stressful at that point. Back in March too, I was like, I have to be able to get this. I don't have any other options. So I think it's definitely a movement I hadn't done before. So I had done a pull-up and I've done crunches, but it's not something where I combined both at the same time. And I found it difficult to engage my upper body, my core, and then my legs at the same time. So when I first started, sometimes I could pull my legs up, but then my arms just stayed straight and I couldn't move them. Other times I'd move my elbows and be able to flex them, but then nothing lower body happened. So I think your body has to kind of get in that routine of this is what it feels like. And the guided imagery can come in at that point as well. So you're playing it through your head the following night after you've tried it. And then I also had a friend who helped me, so she was able to do the leg tucks, and she could come in and say, hey, you might want to move this a little bit, see how your hands are feeling, maybe switch. So put right hand in front instead of the left hand in front. She was also extremely encouraging with it. So I remember when I got my first leg tuck, I did one and then I dropped. And she was like, why'd you stop? Try again, see how close you can get. So after that, I was like, hey, after I get one, I can also get a second one. So I have an example of that. I dove in high school, and I didn't really think about it at the time as the guided imagery or visualization, but I was doing it. So before my dive, I would sit there waiting and go through the steps. So, okay, I'm going to take my 4 steps, take my first hurdle jump, second hurdle jump, and then perform whichever dive I'm going to do, enter into the water. And then when I would go up for the dive, I would almost feel like I didn't have to think about it too much. I'd get out of the water and be like, how did that just happen? So I think the repetitiveness of it is definitely part of it. You can't just visually imagine it and have it work out perfectly. So someone who's never actually done a leg tuck isn't going to be able to do it that way. The best way is to practice a few times and then begin the visual imagery. So say you're preparing for your ACFT. You might want to start this a month or two ahead of time. So doing it every night, and then during the day, practice the actual leg tuck. So it's a combination of repeating both the imagery and the actual practice.